Stotyn. I'm an instructor here at the University of Calgary. I did my undergraduate degree at UBC in Honours Physics, and then I moved on to the University of Waterloo where I did graduate studies in gravitational physics. In particular, I was studying string theory-inspired models of gravity. And when I was there, I got to study for 6 months at the University of California in Santa Barbara. The courses I've taught, specifically at the first and second year levels, are really only first year courses. So I teach currently Physics 211 and 221. That typically takes place in the fall semester. And in the winter semester, I teach both Physics 223 and Physics 259. Physics 211, 221 is first year Newtonian mechanics for non-physics majors. Physics 223 is first year second semester electromagnetism and thermodynamics for, again, non-physics majors. And Physics 259 is first year electromagnetism for engineering students. What is my dream job? It's exactly what I'm doing. So why did I become a professor? Well, it turns out that I wanted to become a professor ever since grade 9, but I had very little idea of what that actually entailed. So I was inspired by my grade 9 science teacher to pursue science further, and I very quickly gained an interest in physics in particular. So I knew very early on that I wanted to go on and get a higher degree in physics, I just didn't know what that entailed. As I was going on and becoming more and more like a physicist, I realized that that is what I wanted to actually do. And so then I just went through all of the motions and I went and got my PhD. I studied physics and became a physics professor. What is my biggest academic accomplishment? Well, I can break this apart into two separate pieces, one of them research related and one of them teaching related. So in terms of research related, this came from work that I was doing as a postdoctoral fellow at the University of British Columbia before joining the Department of Physics and Astronomy at the University of Calgary. I was working on a research project that was my own idea, and it is helping to explain the origin of the entropy of black holes from a different perspective than anyone has ever looked at before. So that is one of my biggest research accomplishments. In terms of my biggest teaching accomplishment, I have to say it was one of my ninja moves this past year that really stood out for me. There was this lab that the students were slated to do the following week that they were only going to learn the material that would be relevant for that lab later in that week. And so I was put with the task of creating a brand new lab in 2 hours in time for TA training that was going to take place in 3 hours. And I successfully got it done, and it ended up being one of the best labs of the semester. So in undergrad, the kind of student that I was, I didn't really interact a lot with the other students in my program. I was more so an independent studier, and I was quite studious. I was spending a lot of my time doing homework, but I also made sure that I went out and had fun as well. So something that I don't like that students do is this going to be on the exam? No, I'm kidding. I obviously understand why you would ask that question. One thing that I don't like that students do is when they ask questions that are very easily looked up by announcements that we put up on D2L. So make sure that you're not one of those. So what I do when I'm not sciencing is think about science. No, I like to go hiking on the weekends. I like to paint and draw. I really like to cook. I like to go for walks and explore the city and go for coffee and meet up with friends. My hidden talent is quite impressive. I can wiggle one of my ears, but only one of them.
Can you wiggle it for us?
Can I wiggle it? Oh, I just didn't do it. The craziest thing I have ever done is actually the craziest thing I have almost ever done. Which is when I was in Santa Barbara, when I was leaving there, I was actually going to ride a bike up the coast from Santa Barbara to Vancouver, but I quickly realized after consultation with friends that I would likely die in the process of doing this. So what I did instead was picked up and went to Portugal with my friend for 3 weeks instead. So my biggest fear actually happened to me. My biggest fear is having my teeth get broken. And I ended up, when I was in a pool, I very gently hit my face on the bottom of it, and I broke 2 of my front teeth. And so those 2 front teeth are the ones that broke, and I looked in the mirror immediately afterwards and pretty much started crying. So I don't currently have any pets, and I'm not really allowed to have pets, in particular cats, after I dropped my cat as a child off the second-story balcony of my parents' house. No, but in all seriousness, I do want pets. I like both cats and dogs, and I want some of each, but I can't currently have any because of the place that I'm renting. By the way, if you want to know why I dropped my cat off the balcony, you have to take my class. So my favorite TV show is pretty much any nature documentary with David Attenborough. And it's to the point now where I've watched so many where whenever I watch a nature documentary that does not have David Attenborough in it, I realize just how garbage it is. So my favorite junk food probably has to be, hands down, Chicago mixed popcorn. I initially thought it was absolutely disgusting when I first tried it because who would mix cheddar and popcorn together, let's be honest. But when I actually ate it, I was delighted by the symphony in my mouth. The three things that I absolutely can't live without would be my friends, just for having a sane social life, my family for being there to provide support, and Netflix for when I don't want to see any of them. So the amount of sleep that I get on average, the correct way to answer this is, what's sleep? So if there's one thing that I'd like my students to take away from my class, just one thing, and I think it would be a greater appreciation for the world around them and the physical laws that govern that world. Being a physics prof, I'm teaching them physical theories, and so being able to look at the world around them and connect what's going on around them with what they're learning in the class. So if I was going to offer any advice to a student in first year university, it's get to know people, get to know other students at the university. You're in this wonderful environment where people from all over the world are together here in this one place. And so you actually get to experience a wide range of different viewpoints and opinions. And also get to know your profs. The only way for them to get to know you is for you to make an effort to get to know them. Because in reality, you are in big first year lecture halls, and the class sizes can range from anywhere from very small to very large, on the order of a couple hundred students. And so your professor is only going to know who you are if you go and interact with them. Especially if you later want to do research, this is very important because if your professor doesn't know who you are, they're much less likely to take you on as a research student.
Give us a science joke.
A science joke. Well, I came up with one in the summer, but I can tell everyone. It's pretty lame, so. Okay, so my science joke is, this actually happened. This was me and some colleagues going out for dinner. So, a physicist, a mathematician, and a chemist walk into a room with one bar, and their ears pop slightly. One bar.